Good morning, YouTube. Quick little video. Uh, Good morning again to everyone. Following this story out of Geneseo, New York. For those of you who follow me and my channel, it's Geneseo, New York is approximately 30 minutes, 20 something minutes, depending from Rochester. It's also what's called the Livingston County area, which is a county that borders Monroe County. And again, for those of you not familiar with this area, upstate New York, Rochester, New York area, Monroe County is the county that Rochester, New York, and some surrounding towns are located. Anyways, the story is that yesterday afternoon, or I believe it was early afternoon, a Geneseo, New York police officer went to pull over a vehicle with out-of-state plates, specifically North Carolina plates, and supposedly, and there's conflicting reports because that's what mainstream news media does. They're so desperate, or as the younger crowd would say nowadays, the word is thirsty. I'm not sure. Are they still using that word, by the way? Thirsty? They're so thirsty for news ratings that they'll report just about anything, literally. And those of you who know me, who have been following me for a while, know that I go hard at mainstream news media. They sensationalize, they spin, and it's all in the name of ratings, because ratings equals dollars. Dollars are revenue. They generate revenue for their corporate America run stations. So long story short, the cop pulls over a vehicle. There's a man and a woman. The man gets out at some point, according to Rochester, New York, News 10 NBC. Obviously the NBC affiliate here in Rochester, New York. Sorry about the, I'm just gonna leave it like this. Sorry about a little jumping around here. According to News 10 NBC, the man, and this is where they lie, they just exaggerate, they spin. According to a reporter from News 10 NBC, and I'm gonna be doing a few more videos to show some of the tweets that this reporter and this station sent out. Erroneous, just straight up false information, at least depending who you choose to believe. According to the Livingston County Sheriff, Tom Doherty, the man never fired at police officers, but yet that's what News 10 NBC, at least one TV station here in Rochester, New York, reported. So long story short, the reports came out before the Livingston County, New York Sheriff even made a press conference, the news, because this is what they do. Again, see, what happens is this. There's a few kind of folks. There's the folks that sit in front of the tube and let the news dictate to them, right? Let the news tell them what they should believe. And then there are other more educated, more well-informed individuals who know that they should take with a grain of salt, a big grain, about that big, anything and everything that mainstream news media says, okay? And for this very reason. So originally the report is they want to have everybody in a mass panic, mass hysteria, everybody worried that there's some guy that's armed, running around, and whether or not he's armed, you shouldn't lie just for news ratings. You shouldn't lie just for spin. And that's what mainstream news media does. So they reported that the man fired a shot, at least one shot, at a police officer. And again, and I'll post the video later, by the very same words of the sheriff of Livingston County, Tom Doherty, that didn't occur. Actually, it was the other way around. The cop fired a shot at the suspect, allegedly, after the cop assessed that the suspect allegedly pointed a gun at him. There's dash cam video, so at some point, And these are the questions they don't ask. Basically, you got a bunch of, reporters who are doing pit stops in this city, in Rochester, New York, and they do it all across the country. They're new reporters. They're new to the market. They break them in small cities, and then they usually, 9 times out of 10, they end up going to bigger markets. And what they do is just, they're just airheads, literally airheads in every sense of the word. And those of you who are familiar with this area, or perhaps it's happening in your own area, wherever you are in the country, or perhaps even overseas. I'm not sure how the media is, for example, in the UK, where I have some followers and some support. Places like Australia also, I'm not sure how it is there, or like I said, or the UK. But that's what they do. They sensationalize, they exaggerate, they spin, and they flat out lie. And I'll show you. I'm going to show you, guys and girls, how they lied all over Twitter that the man fired a gun. Not a shot at a police officer, which did not happen. Absolutely did not happen. Again, according to the sheriff. All right? Not that I want to believe cops, and not that I do believe cops, because they lie through their teeth also. But in this case, I'm going to believe more the sheriff who is at ground zero running the search for this individual. I'm going to believe him more than I'm going to believe some airheaded news reporter who just got to Rochester and is simply doesn't realize that they are being manipulated by a corporate America run news system, which dangles a paycheck in front of them like a carrot. That's the carrot. That's the carrot that they're dangling, their paycheck. And, these individuals don't realize that, right? They get into a field, perhaps with good intentions. I'm not trying to come down on anyone or criticize anyone like that, but it's true. They become part of a profession and part of a system which exploits pain that families go through, that sensationalize stories, that exaggerate, and that flat out lie. But here's where I'm going with this. So the manhunt is still underway for this individual who allegedly, and I would hope that that not only News 10 NBC, but all these news media here in Rochester, New York, ask the right questions. For example, not one person, not one news reporter, right? I say reporter in parentheses, right? In quotes. Sorry, quotes, not parentheses. Not one reporter asked, when will you, to the sheriff, when will you be releasing the dash cam? I'm sorry if I can't see. Good morning to everyone. I'm driving, so I gotta keep my eye on the road here. I'm sorry if I don't see the comments. I'm gonna stop in a second, so maybe if you guys want to save the comments or say what's up once I stop, then I'll be able to look. So not one reporter asked, when will you be releasing the dash cam footage? Because supposedly, right, according to Livingston County, New York Sheriff Tom Doherty, the entire incident of this man being pulled over and pointing a gun at the police officer was caught on dash cam footage. Now, he's the Livingston County Sheriff. He doesn't have anything to do with Geneseo Police. The stop was done by Geneseo, New York Police. But according to Sheriff Doherty, Geneseo, New York Police carry dash cams. He's quoted on the video as saying they carry dash cams in their vehicle. Shouldn't people be allowed to see that footage? I mean, because what it creates is it creates doubt. Police officers cannot be trusted. Law enforcement officers cannot be trusted. They lie through their teeth. They will lie right to your face. They're trained to lie. They're allowed to lie. They're encouraged to lie. For those who love to spin what I say and twist it to fit their cop apologists' agendas, in no way, shape, or form am I defending this individual. If in fact it's true that he pointed a gun at a police officer, then he should be brought to justice. Absolutely. Okay? I'm not defending him. On the contrary, I'm saying that law enforcement obviously needs to have a sit-down talk with mainstream news media who they're buddies with, right? They're in bed with, sometimes literally. That's another story. And they should say, listen, you guys are harming us more than helping us when you put out erroneous information that an individual shot at a police officer when that did not happen. Because it doesn't help law enforcement's case. And it doesn't help their credibility. Why would you lie? If the individual's a criminal, if he's on parole and he did in fact point a gun at a police officer, bring him to justice. Arrest him. First of all, you're not judge, jury, and executioner, but bring him to justice. Effect an arrest with minimal force. Anything that excessive force, for those of you who don't know the actual definition of it, is any force above the force that a police officer needs to use in order to effect an arrest. Once it crosses that scale, that level, that balance, it's excessive force. Bring him to justice. That's fine. I'm not defending him. But it looks bad. And it looks even worse. So it looks bad when reporters embellish, lie, exaggerate, and basically quote police officer. Then the police officer say, no, that didn't happen. He didn't shoot at us. We shot at him. He pointed a gun, but he didn't shoot. Again, makes police officers work worse, harder, and makes them look even worse at a critical mass time in this country when police are basically out of control. So it looks really, really bad. Law enforcement, I'm speaking directly to you, especially in this Monroe County, New York area. You need to have a sit down with your buddies, with your mainstream news media buddies, and really have a talk and come to some type of agreement as to why a television reporter employed by NBC affiliate here in Rochester, New York, would lie. Now here's the reason I really made this video. A couple of months back, there was a young man, Trevion Rowe. Not sure if you guys remember, I did some videos on him. They're on YouTube. I also wrote about it in my blog, the Davy V blog, by the way. For those of you not familiar with my blog, it's the Davy V blog. A few months back, this young man went missing. Young African-American, 14 years old, child, autistic. He went missing. And he ended up in the river. It ended up being realized that 911 here in Rochester, New York, ignored calls of several motorists who saw him on a bridge that we have here downtown Rochester called the Frederick Douglass Susan B. Anthony Bridge. And the young man, unfortunately, it was revealed later that he was already in the water. 911 ignored the calls. They didn't ignore it. They failed to, the 911 dispatcher failed and refused to dispatch fire and rescue, which is standard protocol, which even the mayor here, Mayor Lovely Warren, who I've been very critical of, admitted, at least I'll give her that much credit, admitted that the city dropped the ball, literally. So this young man died, but they didn't find him until 3 or 4 days later after he went missing, right? He basically came to school, got off the bus, Rochester City School District, one of the worst districts in the country. Disgustingly and disturbingly just horrible. Failed to protect this young man who was special needs and who was autistic, and literally allowed him, for lack of supervision, to walk away from the school, and he ended up dead in the river less than a mile away. So where I'm going is this. It took New York State Police days to put a helicopter in the air to look for this young man, right? To conduct an air search for this young man. This young 14-year-old scared child who was missing. It took the New York State Police days to finally put a helicopter in the air to look for this young man. You ready for this? This is the real reason I'm making this video. It took the New York State Police minutes. I repeat, it took the New York State Police minutes. Good morning, minutes. To put a helicopter in the air to search for this individual who they're looking for right now as I talk to you live on here in Geneseo, New York. Let me say it again. It took New York State Police days to deploy a helicopter to search for this young man that went missing. It took the New York State Police minutes to put a helicopter in the air to search rugged terrain, cornfields, wooded areas in Geneseo, New York, for an individual who was reported shot at a cop who never shot at a cop. Again, not defending this person. If in fact it is true that what they say occurred, which we already know some of the stuff that's been reported is not true. According to the sheriff himself, the suspect never fired a gun. But it's the spin and the mass confusion and the hysteria and the panic that mainstream news media engages in, and that stupid fucking people allow them to do. So that's what's crazy. Sorry, the comments went off. You know me, I get in the zone. So to recap, the main reason I made this video is, I'm sorry, I can barely see the comments. I apologize. I'm in the parking lot and it's glaring. So again, the main reason I made this video and making this video is to show the disgusting disparity in the response. Young black child goes missing. Young black autistic special needs child goes missing. Days for the New York State Police to put a helicopter in the air to look for him. Cop is allegedly, which we know now it's not true, shot at by suspect. It takes the New York State Police minutes to put a helicopter in the air to look for this individual. If you're not disgusted by that, if you're not disturbed by the clear message that law enforcement is sending. Again, I always say, I don't know if anyone caught my live last night. My father used to say, if you listen and if you're really seeing, right? Really paying attention, people always telling themselves, always. But it's the way they do it sometimes that is so blatant and so in your face. And if you're not listening and really looking, you won't see it. You know what I mean? And by the very actions that I just described on behalf of the New York State Police, The clear message that they're sending is a cop's life is worth more than the life of a young black child, a young black autistic child. That's the message. Otherwise, if any of you would make an argument or want to make an argument as to, no, Davy, you're wrong, that's not the message, prove it. Prove that that's not the message. Make your argument. Make your case. State your case. Because what I see is this. Young black autistic child goes missing. Days to really launch an effective search, especially an air search. Geneseo, New York, cop is allegedly, which we know now it's not true, shot at. You got an army out there. Right now, as we speak, they have over 100 officers on foot searching cornfields and fucking wooded areas in Geneseo, New York. Rugged terrain. Right now, as we speak. For an individual which Rochester, New York mainstream media sent innocent citizens, innocent residents in the area of Geneseo, New York, into panic with false information. Let me see if I can read some of these. I apologize. Send that one again. So, I'm done rambling, but maybe it doesn't bother some people, you know what I mean? Maybe it doesn't disturb some folks. But the message that law enforcement sent is the message that law enforcement sent and is sending when they do stuff like that is one where they clearly valued the life of a cop more than they valued the life of a young child. Man, I'm sorry. I took screenshots, though. Plus, I'm continuing to block trolls that make their way in here. So I always like to take screenshots so I can go back and get the name. There we go. I'll block that one in a second. All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. And remember, a cop's life is clearly worth more than the life of an innocent child with special needs. Thank you for tuning in.